Recording.
Raphael, are you on Instagram too? What is up, everybody?
I'm muted.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Hey, how you say your name, Raphael?
Yeah, that's my name.
Hey, how you doing there, comrade? How you doing?
Good to be on here. Good to meet you.
Awesome, baby. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just planning for, whatever's next.
Where's the dog you kidnapped?
Oh, it's right here. Where's she at? Come here.
Yo, Raphael, we invited him to North for him to come help out. He kidnapped the dog.
I did not kidnap a dog. She was running down the street and almost ran into traffic, and then I picked her up, and she's still here. Dude, she is so fun. I love this dog.
You out of control.
Well, I love this dog.
Hey, Raphael, tell us a little bit about yourself, Raphael.
Okay, well, my name is Raphael Kadaris. I work with the RevComs, that's short for Revolutionary Communists. And, we base ourselves on the new communism developed by Bob Avakian. And we are serious about, stopping this Trump fascism. And we are serious about making an actual revolution to get rid of the whole system that produced someone like Donald Trump. And to put an end to all these, all the oppression that is built into this system, whether you're talking about the police murder and mass incarceration of Black people, whether you're talking about the way capitalism is destroying the environment of our planet, whether you're talking about the way immigrants get exploited and demeaned and, terrorized by this government, the wars that this imperialist system wages all over the world. We are organizing for an actual revolution to overthrow that system and replace it with a completely different socialist system, on the road to a communist world without any forms of oppression. So we can talk more about all that.
All power to the people. I don't even want to answer the question that I was thinking in my mind. It just seems so broad, and you wouldn't even know where to start. I don't think. So how are you gonna do that?
How am I gonna do that?
yeah, exactly. Hey, look, now I'm not trying to catch you off guard. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That question is broad. So how are you gonna do that? But that's what I'm thinking. So how do we bring that? How do we make that happen?
Yeah.
This is not an easy question I'm asking you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a good question, and it's the question that anyone who's seriously thinking about revolution is going to have, because, I know you guys are the New Jersey Black Panthers, right? So, you have to think about, when you're talking about revolution, you have to think seriously about what we have to go up against, right? This is, revolution is not easy. We're going up against a very powerful enemy. If you know anything about the experience of the Black Panthers, this government came down, with COINTELPRO, lying about people, spreading disinformation, getting people to turn against each other. But they also went after people with brute force, murdering people like Fred Hampton, and as well as, locking people up for decades in prison. Some of them are still in prison. So when you're talking about an actual revolution, which is what we're talking about, not a Bernie Sanders revolution, not trying to make some small changes within this system, not a mental revolution, but an actual physical revolution, that can only be done in certain conditions, when certain conditions are ripe. Number one, you have to have a deep crisis in society where the rulers can no longer rule in the normal way that people, have been conditioned to accept. And one of the things about Trump and the whole fascism that he's implementing is that this is disrupting the norms of this system. I mean, on the one hand, Trump is just a grotesque expression of the ugliness that's right at the core of this country since the beginning. On the other hand, he's also trying to overturn all the normal way, the elections, the democratic rights you're supposed to expect, international law, all that, right? He's trying to overturn that. This is shaking a lot of people. This is forcing people to question a lot of things. But you also, to make a revolution, you don't just need a crisis. You also need millions of people who have broken their allegiance to this system. And you need a vanguard that can lead the revolution. You need to have a revolutionary organization that could lead the masses of revolutionary people to actually do what needs to be done. And right now we're beginning to have this crisis in society with Trump and everything he's doing, all the difficulty that the US is facing internationally with China rising, with, the war that the US is stuck in the Middle East. Trump thought it was going to be easy to just roll over Iran, but it hasn't been that easy. Right? So the US empire is facing big challenges right now. And internally, the US empire is more divided than it's been since the Civil War. This is a big change right now in this moment. But we don't have the people ready for revolution. So everything that we're doing right now, the RevComs, is we're getting people ready for revolution. We're transforming the thinking of the people to a revolutionary mentality, and we're trying to organize people into a force for revolution. And so this is where, helping people understand the difference between Mamdani style socialism or the democratic socialists and actual revolution is really important, right? Because people need to, instead of just looking at the surface of things and trying to work within the system, they need to get to the root of the problem and actually realize we need to overthrow this system. So this is a big part of what we're working on right now. What all of us who recognize that this system is completely rotten and needs to change. This is what all of us need to be working on.
I like where this is going already.
This is going ideological struggle.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where this is going. Now it's gonna be a real good conversation, man. Where are you at right now? I'm
in Los Angeles.
Oh,
nice.
You in LA, baby.
I got people out in LA too.
What up? You in LA? That's what's up. Where do I go from here? How do I do this? Because I want you to feel comfortable, yo. It's not that often that we get a chance to speak to somebody that's really well read, that understand really the conditions, the stuff we're dealing with. Because the issues you have with Mamdani, we was gonna talk about that today. I don't know if we're gonna get to it because this conversation is gonna be good enough that we may not even need to get there. But you know what? We might need to use it. But but how do you get the people to understand what's going on outside of building institutions? If we don't have institutions, because like the General Secretary just told you before we came on air that we were going through the Wretched of the Earth. And in Wretched of the Earth, Fanon is saying children from birth, they have to learn from birth the society that they need to tackle, that they need to deal. If they want to break colonization, they need to understand this from birth. We don't have that society. Like you just said a few minutes ago, the people consciously are not there yet. Outside of building institutions, how do you do that? How do you get the people to the place where they need to be? When I'm in my institutions, because I'm a sociologist by trade. So when I say institutions, it means something different to me. Institutions are schools. Like when we all get up, I'm in North New Jersey, you in LA. When you and I get up, when I get up tomorrow, all the children are going to these institutions produced by imperialism, produced by capitalism, which are used to basically socialize them to be wage slaves. How do we transform the minds of the masses of the people if we have not built institutions?
Well, first of all, this is a really good question. I mean, there's another really good question. because on the one hand, you're absolutely right. We do need institutions in order to make fundamental change. This is why we need a revolution in the first place. We need the power in society to be able to educate people in a whole different way. You know, right now, the reason that people are so brainwashed by the system is because, you know, number one, you're surrounded by capitalism. So that in and of itself just forces you to constantly be looking out for yourself. You know, we're all caught up in the rat race and the struggle to survive as an individual in this world, right? And if you don't, you know, look out for yourself, you'll just get swallowed up by this system. You know, you have to compete in everything in this society, for work, for jobs, for relationships, for everything, right? So this is that's part of it, right? But then the other part is that we are being indoctrinated, brainwashed by the mass media, by the school system, you know, and you're taught in 1,000 ways that the way we live now is the only way it can be. You know, that this is just human nature for people to treat each other this way. But and you also get taught that real revolution, that's just going to fail. Communism, that was a big nightmare. Don't even think about it. Might be a good idea on paper. That's what they say. But in reality, it doesn't work, and it just leads to horrors. So, you know, this is all how we're indoctrinated, how we're lied about under this system. And to fundamentally change the way of thinking of millions and billions of people on this planet, we need actual state power. We need revolution and a new socialist system, right? Where we can actually have a whole different economy that's not based on profit. That's not where people don't have to be caught up in the individual struggle to survive, because their needs are met. You know, their economic needs, their cultural needs, you know, all of that is met by society. We need a whole different education system that actually, you know, teaches people the truth, that actually trains people to be critical thinkers. You know, that's a big part of it. This educational system, besides lying to people, it also doesn't teach people how to sort out what's true and what's false, you know? So, but here's the problem, is that if you try to build those new institutions within capitalism, you will never be able to be anything more than just on the margins of it. You know, they have state power right now. They control the government. The capitalists control the media. You know, they dictate the school system. And now you're seeing with Trump in power, you're seeing how he just goes to work to even the little bit of truth that people had in the 60s had to fight for about the real history of this country, you know, and having at universities, having things like Black studies and ethnic studies and women's studies, all that now is out the door with Trump. He wants to just
but you see, like, if you ask me, all of that shit should have never been done in the first place. That was all a waste of time. Ethnic studies, Black studies in imperialist institutions, in capitalist institutions, like, you're pushing for all of this reforms in this institution. It's a waste of time, which is what we're having this conversation right now. And we're saying, after all of that garbage and all that BS, we're at the point where you're saying people, like, are getting to the point where they're ready to revoke, like, all of this, like, people are suffering. So, like, so going through that process, going through the what they call it where Black people could get a chance to get jobs with white people. What they call that?
Equal opportunity.
DEI.
Affirmative action. Affirmative
action. You see, all of that, to me, none of that impressed me. All of that is garbage to me. All of that is just stuff to maintain the institutions, to reform the institutions. The question I'm asking you, where I'm trying to get at, and you just kind of answered it, like, in a different way. I think you're the first person that's ever said this to me, like, to try to counter what we be saying. As Panthers, we believe in intercommunalism. We believe in cooperatively working. But from what you just said just now, even if we do cooperative working, whatever, we're still within the system.
Yeah,
that's what you just said, though, right?
Yeah. And the problem is, I mean, take the original Black Panthers, right? They did have programs, like they had health programs, they had the breakfast program, they had, you know, other kinds of programs, right? But and originally, when the Panthers were first starting, they were primarily a revolutionary organization aiming for the actual overthrow of the U.S. government, of the aiming for the actual overthrow of this system, right? And they had these programs as part of that, as a secondary part of that, right? But then when the government came down so hard on the Panthers, they actually split into two factions. Probably some about this history, but one faction kind of started urban guerrilla warfare and ended up, and the problem was that it was, they didn't have the masses with them, right? Revolution cannot just be an act of a few people, right? It actually has to be the act of millions. And when they tried to start the revolution prematurely, they ended up just getting killed, right? Or thrown in prison. The other side of it, like Huey Newton and some of the West Coast Panthers, they put forward what was called survival pending revolution, which basically meant promoting electoralism and programs like the breakfast program, but making that, instead of the means to an end, that just became the end in and of itself, where revolution was put off on the back burner as something that's maybe could happen off in some distant future. But right now we need to meet the needs of the people. But the problem with that is that under this system, you're never going to be able to meet the needs of the people. You're never going to be able to build institutions that actually can compete with the institutions that they have, And so I get the problem that you're addressing with, okay, well then if you don't have institutions, how do you change the thinking of the masses of people when they're being miseducated by the system? It's a real problem. And part of the way that you deal with it is that, and here's how I understand it. And I'm basing this a lot on the analysis that Bob Avakian, who we should talk about who he is, what his whole history is, what's the new communism he's developed. We should get to that. But one of the points that he's made is that revolution can only happen in certain rare turning points in history. And you think about something like the Russian Revolution, 1917. That happened in the context of World War I. And we can talk more about how that happened. The Chinese Revolution also happened in the context of World War II, because the Japanese had invaded China, and that changed that shook the whole country up and changed the whole alignment of forces. Right now, we're also in a very rare turning point in U.S. society where the empire is facing growing challenges, as I was saying, and the things that Trump is doing are undermining the normal way things have been run, right? So when we make, the strategy for revolution is not that we have to convince the majority of people to become revolutionary communists. If you had to do that, that would never happen. The strategy for revolution is we have to win millions of people to the basic understanding that the whole system's got to go and we need something better. And then you need to have thousands of people who are trained in the science of communist revolution. But we're talking about thousands. We're not talking about, you need to win millions of people. Then once you have that, when you have thousands of communist revolutionaries and you have millions of people who refuse to live in the old way and are willing to fight for something better, and you have the system in a deep crisis, then you could have a chance to go all out for revolution. And then if we actually succeed in making revolution, which is not going to be the easy thing, but it is possible, then you could set up a whole different economic system, whole different institutions, and we could start educating a whole new generation of people to think a different way.
All right, so go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say that I think right now we're still in the process of trying to get everybody on the same page to let them, to try and prove to them that, one, that collectively we have power. If, like you said, millions of people were up on the same page. But right now we have too many different organizations that are out there, leading the charge against fascism, but it's all performative bullshit. That's why I stopped covering it. We were talking about it a little bit before the show. Like I looked at everything through like an independent journalist kind of lens. That's how I wanted to be taken as a serious independent journalist. But again, when people start getting killed and I see the same people, throwing dildos at ICE agents and, wearing inflatable costumes. And like, we just saw people get murdered in high definition in multiple different angles. And, we're still doing the same thing. Like, people, I think, are still stuck thinking that we can vote our way out of this. And I'm under the understanding now, with everything that's going on and having studied Project 2025 and know the Heritage Foundation very well, I know they're not going to relinquish power during the midterms. There's no way in fucking hell these people are going to give up power, because they're not finished with their master plan. And that is to have essentially a white supremacist or a white nationalist, Christian nationalist nation. And I don't think they're going to stop until they do. And people just need to wake up and realize that's the reality of the situation.
But that's what we're talking about, though.
Yeah.
People don't just organically wake up. The first, when Raphael, when you were first talking, you were talking about the cadre. Like, the cadre is people that are here to get the people to understand what time of day it is. I'm not talking about here like today, going tomorrow. I'm talking about here this year, next year, the year after that, generation after generation. Like, there are people there in the society that are supposed to have those institutions. But let's go back a little bit. Because as Panthers, like you talking about the European Union and the survival programs. These survival programs are supposed to be like a beacon to show the community what can be done if the community put its resources together. If it works by itself and don't like ask for the government or anybody as corporations, like, you can work by yourself as a community to produce the things that you need. Like, what and how do we do that? Let's say, because we don't just talk, it's not about theory. So as Black Panthers, we have different programs right now, currently in 2026, like today, that programs that we run in the community to bring the kids in, to be able to socialize those kids. Maybe we can build a school. We don't have money to go build a big grand school, but you could be that cadre in the community that has this. For the last 18 years, we have summer camps, summer programs that we do, that we bring the kids in and try to socialize the kids, try to teach them the stuff we're talking about. And like, when we say we're the cadre, we also cast a wide net to find other people that are around to join in what we're doing. What you said about the Panthers in the 60s, what happened, how they broke apart, some of them even participated in electoral politics. As an organization here in Newark, New Jersey, we don't believe in the electoral process. It's a waste of time. Going to go into a process that is socially constructed to benefit the imperialists, to benefit the rich. That's the highest level of political idiocracy. I mean, like, what are you doing? That's like me going to a casino. I've never been to a casino. I gamble. I played spades my whole life. Like, I gamble. I'm talking about, at one point, no lying, I gamble to survive. I have never been to a casino. I have never, because I know in my head, I already know the table is set, the deck is set. What am I going to sit at this table for? That's what it is, like running politics. Going to go run. The deck is set. You know who's going to win and who they're going to serve. So participate in that system. When I found out that the Panthers even considered it, like, I was kind of disheartened. But then I understand. After a while, I understand, like, these are human beings. These are human beings. Like, they may say they're Panthers, but they don't follow what you're supposed to follow. People do what they want to do. You got Panthers that are Muslim, that are Christian, that are all this stuff. I don't know how you think it scientifically and you believe there's a God in space. I don't, but that's neither here nor there. I'm saying, like, scientifically, we're supposed to build these institutions in the community to be a beacon, to be that cadre, to bring people in. And if you don't have these institutions, which are what control how people think, if you don't have these institutions, how do you get the masses of the people to all understand, all work together, to be organized, to be in lockstep? Because this takes discipline. You're not going to beat these people that has been doing this for hundreds of years, not even thousands of years. The history of the world is that of class struggle. To me, when we talk about revolution, when you were saying the word revolution, I don't think there's ever been a revolution, because the people have never taken power. The wealthy, I don't care if you go back to Africa, you go wherever you want to go in the history of the world, the masses of the people have never taken power. They have always been exploited. So when Marx said the history of the world is that of class struggle, that's what he's talking about. And since he died, I haven't seen no people rise up. I don't care. Like even in Palestine, if Palestine become a country, the masses of the people are not the ones that are going to be in power there. It's going to be the people that's controlling the military that built them tunnels. Like if we want the people that Mao went to those rice paddies to go get to have a revolution, if we want those people to take over the world, yo, we can't just talk on social media. We can't just be saying, writing books, giving seminars, sit up there, professor come up there with their books and the book they don't wrote, and now they about to go sell them books, make money off the suffering of people, but they calling themselves revolutionaries and activists, ain't do shit. Never built nothing, don't feed nobody, don't house nobody, don't politically educate nobody, but they running around here writing books talking about you're going to bring about revolution. How you bringing about revolution by writing a book? Can't nobody eat a book. Can't nobody eat them papers. And if you listen to Fanon is telling you, yo, the people, all they care about is the land and bread. When you open this door, you go outside, all people care about is land and bread. How do you socialize those people to get them to understand what we need to do outside of building institutions? I mean, like I said, I'm a sociologist by trade because that's how I think. I mean, like I like people to understand where my mind is coming from. How do you get everybody in LA, in New Jersey, in all these different communities to understand if there are no institutions in all these communities? That's why Huey P. Newton said we have to do intercommunalism. So you in LA, whatever you're doing there, if you're doing Marxism, this is what you're trying to do. We trying to overthrow the government. Yeah, we work with you. We're supposed to bond and supposed to connect together everywhere. This is what our duty is. Because other than that, like I can see everybody just waking up one day. Because like in saying like 1 second, 1 minute, let me wrap this up in 1 minute. I can see everybody waking up one day and being like waking up like, yo, this is what we need to do. Like none of this worked that way. Because you're gonna have people that are pulled this way, some that are pulled this way, some that are Republicans, Democrats, Green Party, Democratic Socialists, Socialist Independent, Socialist this, that, all this goofy shit. But nobody is building nothing tangible to be able to stop what these sociopaths have coming down the line for us. Because these sociopaths are coming. They never left, they never stop. And our blood is all they want. They need us to survive. I mean, they are coming. What are we doing? What are we doing to build our bomb shelters when they have a nuclear war? What the hell are we doing? And we saying like the state, we need to take over the state. Yo, if you control the people, there is no state. Without the people, the state ceases to exist. Without the people, City Hall is dead. If the people in North New Jersey stop going to City Hall, stop entertaining the politicians, stop doing what, that's when you have the contradiction, where you have to start to fight. But go ahead, my guy. You be holding back, Raphael. I hope I talked enough to give you enough time for you to come back with some. Come on, go ahead, Raphael. Get him.
It's good, man, because the show's called Ideological Struggle.
Yeah.
Which actually speaks to the point I was going to make, which is, you know, you have a bunch of books right behind you that shed important light on the nature of the system and what needs to be done. You know, here's the basic fact is this: like wherever there's oppression and there will be resistance. You know, and we've seen this throughout history. Go back to the Middle Ages, it was peasant rebellions. Go back to slavery, there was always slave rebellions, right? You know, in this society, we've seen so many uprisings, right? You know, I mean, the 60s was a massive global uprising, but also more recently, the George Floyd uprising, the uprising around Gaza, right? However, you know, here's the thing is without revolutionary theory and leadership, that movement of the people will eventually be funneled back into the confines of the system. You know, you're talking about, you know, how disheartening it was to find out that some of these Panthers got into electoralism. But why did they do it? It wasn't just because they were sellouts. It was because they couldn't see a way forward through, you know, up against what they were up against, right? This is why I emphasize, and Bob Avakian emphasizes the importance of science, right? And science, I know a lot of people think of science as just, you know, weird people with white coats or something like that in a lab. Science is something that anyone can apply to anything, right? And it basically just means instead of basing yourselves on what feels good, what's popular, what the identity of someone is, what you see on the surface. You look at the evidence of things and you dig beneath the surface, right? You actually try to understand the patterns in reality. You try to understand the deeper causes of things, you know, and this is what masses of oppressed people need to understand, right? And, you know, it's like anything. It's like if you're sick, you know, you feel the symptoms, right? But you don't necessarily know what the disease is. You know, this is why you go to a doctor, so you could get an actual diagnosis. Is your headache being caused by a migraine? Is it dehydration, or is it brain cancer? You have to know the answer to that to know how to treat it, right? And so this is, you know, look, there is an importance to bringing people together, there is an importance to people working together to solve the practical needs that people have. And Bob Avakian, in a recent article that's titled Mutual Aid for What as Part of What, Reform or Revolution, he has made the point, and actually drawing from the history of the Black Panthers, he has made the point that there can be an important role for mutual aid in the context of a revolutionary movement. But if it just becomes about trying to reform this system, then it turns into something else, right? And there's a lot of ways we need to be bringing people together. We need to be, you know, having summer camps for the kids. We need to be having picnics in the park. We need to be all that, right? All that stuff is important, but it's got to be part of an actual revolutionary movement, and bringing people the most important thing that they don't have, which is a scientific understanding of the system we're up against, the root of the problem and the real solution. And that's a matter of struggle. That's a matter of ideological struggle to transform people's thinking, and you have to do a lot of compare and contrast with people, right? Because people have different wrong views of the problem. You know, there's a lot of people out there who think, oh, the reason that we're in this situation is because the Illuminati is running the world, or the Jews are running the world, or whatever other conspiracy type thinking. Or, you know, there's a lot of religious thinking where people say, oh, you know, it's just the reason we're suffering is just because, you know, it's all part of God's plan. And if we suffer in this life, we'll be rewarded in the afterlife. And all this unscientific way of thinking that prevents people from understanding their real conditions and the revolutionary way out. So, you know, once again, the most important thing is revolutionary scientific theory and leadership, you know, and this is why, you know, we make a big deal out of Bob Avakian, who's actually studied the whole history of communism and has studied a whole bunch, you know, of other things, and has developed a new framework, which we call the new communism. Because one thing I did also want to disagree with you on, Chairman Africa, is it's not the case that people have that the masses of oppressed humanity have never taken power. They did actually take power in Russia in 1917 and in China in 1949, and they actually accomplished a lot that we've been lied to about. You know, they don't tell us the truth about.
Hold on. No, let's not go too far. Let's walk it down.
Okay, all right.
There's nothing wrong with disagreeing, because we learned through all of that. So if somebody disagree, cool. All right. So when I say the people have never won, when I'm talking about the people, I'm talking about the masses of the people. Like, people now living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Mao wasn't poor. Mao didn't grow up poor. The Russian Revolution, the people that led all these revolutions, were never the masses of the people. They were always organized by those who came from wealth, who had power, and got people to do what they wanted them to do to achieve what they wanted. And when they got power, they willed power the way they wanted to wield it, and the people had nothing to do with that. So even if we're talking about Cuba, Castro wasn't poor either. Wherever we go, all these people didn't grow up with the people. Like, I grew up in the hood. These people didn't grow up in the hood. I mean, most of these people that led these revolutions, they were not from the lumpen or from the proletariat class. I mean, but be that as it may, that's when I say, like, the people have never won. It has never came like a revolution of the people. I don't know one. Maybe, and I could be wrong. Somebody could prove me right. But I know the Russian Revolution wasn't led by the poor people in Russia. They wasn't the one making the plans. They wasn't the one coming up with the details, strategy, none of that. All of that, because this is serious business. Like you said earlier, you have to know the whole. You can't just know what's on the surface. You have to know the root of what's going on. And what I'm saying is the masses of the people have never, ever, ever taken power.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think just by virtue of being poor and oppressed that you automatically have a revolutionary understanding?
Hell no. You have to get political education.
Right.
And you can't get that education by and large unless you come from a certain class. That's when you have the access to that level of education. Go ahead. And that has always been the problem, which is why we need institutions, because our leadership the leadership of the mass of the people cannot come from the elites, cannot come from the wealthy, because as history has proven, that has never worked out for the masses of the people, no matter where we go with it. But go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think your point about the masses of people, no matter how poor and oppressed they are, they need a revolutionary consciousness, right? That's fundamental. And it doesn't come to you just by virtue of being poor and oppressed.
No.
You know, so it has to be acquired, right? You said, you read all those books, you studied sociology, you got a political education, right? And that's true for anyone, actually, and see let's just get back down to the fundamentals. Reality is objective. It doesn't vary depending on what class strata you are, what race you are, what gender you are. Reality is objective. It just exists, right? And so the thing is, anybody can understand that reality, no matter what class background you come from, and there have been people who've come from middle class or even upper class. Actually, Frederick Engels, who was Marx's buddy, actually his father was a factory owner. Marx was more from the middle class. Lenin was more from the middle class. Mao was from the middle class. Babavikian is from the middle class. There have been others from other communist leaders from the working class who've ended up betraying the revolution. So just your class background doesn't guarantee anything about your consciousness. And on the flip side, actually,
you're right. But go ahead. On the flip side.
And on the flip side, you can actually come from the middle class and use your intellectual abilities in the service of the masses of humanity, right? And it's not that many people do that, right? A lot of people want to use their intellectual abilities to benefit themselves. But there are some people, and Babavikian stands out in this respect, as does Mao and Lenin, who actually came from a, middle class and decided to dedicate their lives to the struggle to emancipate humanity. And it is, look, man, what you're speaking to is a problem of the revolution historically, right? It's a problem that in order to make a revolution, you have to acquire a certain level of understanding. And in essence, you have to lead the revolution. Not there's all kind of people who can be part of the revolution, but to lead the revolution, you have to be able to solve a lot of problems that are difficult and that are complex, right? And so you need to actually become an intellectual in order to do that, a revolutionary intellectual. And there are people from the bottom, like we've had people in our organization who've spent years in prison and actually use their, who came from the bottom and used their time in prison to actually educate themselves in the science of communism. But whatever background you have to acquire that understanding. And then the question is, what are you going to use it for the masses? Or are you going to use it for yourself? And that's an ongoing thing. And there's always, as long as you have leadership, there's always the potential for leadership to turn into to betray the people, but that's a constant thing that, and to get beyond a world where you have some people who have access to this world of ideas and are able to become intellectuals, and other people who just have to break their backs all day. That's where you have to make a revolution and set up a whole different economic and social system.
But that's where we're talking about, where you don't have to overthrow the government to build institutions, but institutions to teach this stuff that you're talking about, to give this knowledge that you're talking about. You don't need to go to City Hall with guns and take over and put people and sit people in them fake offices, because the power is not there. The power is not at City Hall. The power is with the people that control City Hall, the people that pay for these campaigns, the people that make them millionaires. Like we talking about. You said earlier, people be like Jews, Jews, all of that is just a distraction. The people with the money that's financing, that's trying to steal from the Middle East, trying to steal oil. These are the people that you need to worry about. Netanyahu is not the one that's making decisions in Israel. All this stuff is just, I don't even participate in those kind of conversations because they're too dumb for me. I mean, Netanyahu is not the one that I need to go deal with. Where is he getting his money from? Who are the people that's keeping him out of jail? Keep making sure like nobody from Western European countries ever goes to The Hague. Who are the people that are doing these? These are the people that you need to tackle. And you don't need to go to City Hall to deal with those people. It starts with the people next door, the people in your community, organizing the people where you live at. If you can do that, if you could organize those people, then you could be able to transform the society. But if you can't organize them, you have no institutions to organize them. All we doing is talking, and we writing book, and we explaining theory. Then we're not really getting nowhere. We're just spinning the wheels. So what we talking about here, I don't know if people understand, the people that are watching right now. This is the highest level of conversation you're gonna get anywhere. There's no media outlet, no TV, no CNN, NBC, where you have this level of conversation. Like when I watch those mediums, I get upset because like the whole conversation is stupid. Like when we talk like Zoran, this says Zoran, oh my God, Zoran did this, he did all of this. Look, he got a rent freeze. Okay, so they froze the rent at $2,500. I can't afford that shit. I mean, you're gonna freeze that shit for the next 2 years. I can afford it next year. I mean, like what? So okay, after that, when Zoran gone, it's not gonna go up. It never went up. Like you're trying to play with me. You're trying to insult my intelligence. But these are the people that speak for the masses of us, whether it be independent media, whether it be corporate media. Tell them they better come on the show. They're trying to get your attention.
Who?
Everything good?
Yeah. Someone was trying to tell me something. We're good though.
Now you got it?
Hang on, just 1 sec. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, make it happen.
Good.
But Jeremy, you understand what I'm saying though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We need to get if we need to get to the root of it, we have to really tackle like the people that's beyond what? Beyond the veil? I don't know how you what you would say. But anyway, we have to deal with those people. And like only building institutions to me, I mean, really shows somebody's really serious.
Yeah, I think it's why I've been wanting to focus on people that didn't vote. I think there'd be more. Oh, because like the liberalism that we talk about, they're not ready for revolution, man. They're not.
The
they
whole
like
world
to say they are, but they're not. You know what I mean?
No, we live in liberalism.
I know.
So it's liberalism everywhere. Everything is liberalism. I mean, so it's like having to combat that and cut through that. It's real. But the only way, according to Mao, if you're a Marxist, you gotta be a Marxist all the time. You're not a Marxist when they suit you. When it's comfortable for you to be a Marxist, that's when you're a Marxist. Nah, like we have to be serious. And you can say you're a Marxist, and you send your child to a capitalist school, but you say you're a Marxist. Now you have a child that's going to be a capitalist. You just produce another capitalist in the world. There's no Marxism schools. There's no today we was dropping off the kids after camp, and we drove by this it was a Jewish school. I forgot the name of it, and they had the school there, whatever. And I was talking to my son. I'm in my 40s. My whole life going to school in this area. There's never been a Jewish kid in my class. I never went to school in public school the whole time. I don't remember a white kid ever in my classes. I mean, but these institutions are here. They have the schools that they go to, that they send their kids to. But as Marxists, we have no schools. We have no institutional memory. We have nowhere where we're breathing the next generation. All we do is send them to these schools, send them to these universities, and send them to these corporations. But we sit down on our computers and sit down and keep talking about all this stuff that we read from Marx and all of these people. All of that is a waste of time to me. Like, we just talking. If there are no institutions being erected, we are all just talking, just blowing in the wind. I mean, like that's I don't know, Raphael. You everything you
Well,
handle that, everything I handle.
yeah, well, the thing is, this is a basic dividing line though between reform and revolution, right? If we could, if I thought we could set up institutions under this system that could actually educate people in a different way and meet the needs of the people, I would work my ass off for that. But the problem is because the capitalists control the economy, because they control the political system, because they control all the major institutions, then whatever you set up as institutions can only just be a small thing on the margins under the current system. You know, we need power, right? And I just want to be clear, when I'm talking about revolution, I'm not just talking about going out with guns and doing something stupid that's just gonna, I'm talking about millions of people when the system is in a deep crisis, rising up and overthrowing this system. It's
It
not,
don't, but it don't work that way. It has never worked that way.
but
The
it
whole
has worked. It has
when
worked this way. It has worked this way in other countries.
where
Right?
what country?
This-
By the way, let me make sure you understand what I'm saying. What country things got so bad that people just organically, no organizations, no institutions, nothing in it was in place to be able to foster that energy and be able to direct it, and they rose up and it took over the nation. Where that happened at?
Okay, in Russia in 1917, right?
No, it didn't, bruh. No, like no,
What's
you have people that were work that were in position that were organizing to make
That's
that
true,
happen.
and we're talking about organizing, but they weren't able to set up their own educational institutions before the revolution. They were able to set that up after they made a revolution.
No. Before the revolution. Okay, so who are the people? Who are the main powers of that revolution?
Well, look, to be clear, we do need a movement for revolution. This is why I was saying mutual aid and things like that. Yes, study classes. Yes, pulling people together in neighborhoods. All of that can be part of the movement for revolution. It's part of organizing people. It's part of preparing people, people's consciousness as well, right? I'm for all of that, right?
Which is a must. It's a major component of.
Yeah, and then you have to think about key sections of people, right? We have to think about who are those people in society, who have nothing, to use Marx's term, have nothing to lose but their chains. Who are the people who are the most alienated from the system, the ones who the system treats as less than human. There are millions of those kind of people in this society that need to be a backbone force for this revolution. There's also a lot of people in the middle class. There's students, there's intellectuals. There's we can criticize a lot of the mentality of the anti-Trump people at things like No King's Day, but those people actually also have a role to play in this revolution. Not the way that they are now, but as they get transformed through ideological struggle. So right.
Let's not go too far. Those people right now, those intellectuals, these people that have gone to school, have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get an education, and they're now sitting in a comfy office. According to the study, these books that I'm reading, those people are useless to the revolution. Those people cannot be counted on, because when you go to those people, they're coming from their perspective. They're coming from like everything they've done their whole entire life is to get to where they're at, the bourgeois, petty bourgeois, whatever they want to classify themselves. So that's why Fanon said this has to be done from birth. From birth.
Let's think about the example, because Jeremy was saying it helped to radicalize him, right? Let's think about the example of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Mm-hmm. These are not, as far as I know, these are not people, on the bottom living in the hood or something. These are people who, I don't know if they're middle class, they might be working class. These are white people. These are people, at least on that level, with a little bit more privilege. And yet they decided to use their privilege to put their bodies on the line for immigrants, right? And if you go back to the 1960s generation, yes, the Black Panther Party at that time was the most advanced revolutionary force. But you also had white students, and this is where Baba Vakian actually comes out of that whole time period. White students who, when the Panther offices were being attacked by the police, they would go link arms in front of the Panther offices to defend the offices, right? Willing to put themselves on the line. And yeah, that didn't last. A lot of those people, just like the Black Panthers, a lot of those people after the 60s ended and the uprising, subsided, a lot of them went back to their lives. But that does show you the potential. And I don't think people only act on just their most narrow self-interest. I think people are capable, particularly in times of major crisis in society, are capable of acting for larger interests, larger concerns. That was a whole generation also of people that stood up against the war in Vietnam. That wasn't their kids being, bombed and napalmed. That was people who thought that war was wrong and were willing to put something on the line to stop it. So, I do think that the people who are most oppressed are going to be the backbone of the revolution. But it's also important, both because in order to make a revolution, we need a lot of these people in the middle class, but also because, this isn't a revolution about revenge. This is not the last shall be first and the first shall be last.
Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, yes, it is. No. This is there's no trust in the first. The people that's in power right now, the people that have always been in power, there's no negotiating with them. There's no, you cannot negotiate. It has never been done. This is the last shall be first and the first shall be last. These are different species of people. My landlord, the police officers, every day of my life. We have the sheriff office, we have Rutgers police, Seton Hall police, NJIT. These are college police. We have transit police. We have the FBI, the state police. It's like 10 different police agencies that can pull you over when you walk out of your house. There's no negotiating with these people. They don't care about our humanity. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand where we're going or what time of day it is. We talking about Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Those people went outside to protest. I doubt Alex Preddy knew when he went out there to go stop them from beating up a woman, making a woman brutalized, they was going to kill him. I doubt he knew that. I believe if he knew that, he wouldn't have been there. I doubt Renee Good knew if she was trying to drive a car to leave, that they were going to shoot her in the face. But we talking about revolutionaries doing this work. It means you're giving your life. You understand that they will kill you. The police will shoot you. You understand by driving your car, they will shoot in there. You already know that. That's what Fanon talking about. You have to know what they're going to do to you and be ready to survive it. There's no negotiation with these people. Like he said in the first chapter, these people are a different species.
Okay,
Mamdani. Go ahead.
I want to separate a few things, and then we should talk about Mamdani a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We should get to that. But number one, you're right that there is no negotiating with and there are real enemies, and there's no negotiating with them. The police, the ruling class of this system, these are enemies, and this is why we're saying you actually need a revolution to overthrow this system, and the reason that revolution can't happen peacefully is because the people that run this system will never allow that to happen. Exactly. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they did to Gaza. Look at what they're doing to Iran right now. And look at what they've done throughout the history of this country. These are ruthless, murderous people that run this system, right? So we're in agreement on that part, right?
Yeah.
What I disagree with you on is this point. Even the way you refer to it as a different species, and let me put it like, I know maybe you're using that poetically, not literally.
No. That's what Fanon said in the book.
I know. Yeah. I know there's people out there that actually say, oh, the bourgeoisie, they're reptilian or something like that.
No.
I know you're just using it as a metaphor.
No. Listen. No. I'm quoting Fanon.
Okay,
That's not my term I came up with in my head. But he said he used the term different species to give an example of how separate we are.
Yeah.
And they survive of exploiting us, and they're
Right.
not trying to negotiate that.
Right.
But go ahead.
No, I fully agree in that sense, right? In that the sense that there's antagonistic interests, right?
Yeah,
It's like the interest between slaves and slave masters, right? The interest of the slave master is in maintaining slavery. The interest of the slave is in overthrowing, ending that, right? So and you're never gonna bring those interests together. You're never gonna convince the slave owners, as a class, right? You're never gonna convince them. They need to be actually defeated, right? Overthrown. So that we agree on, right? But here's a deep point that Karl Marx made, actually, and I made this point in a recent speech I gave about Mamdani and the Democratic Socialists, which I made the point that the problem that we face is not just greedy billionaires. It's a whole system, right? And the greedy billionaires are just a symptom of that system. In other words, the reason that the capitalists act the way that they do is because it's not just because these are evil people. It's because they're caught up in a system of competition where the way capitalism works, it's a system of private ownership, and things are produced as commodities to be sold in a market. And if you don't get an advantage by exploiting your workers even more, or plundering the environment even more, or introducing new technology, then you'll be driven under. So it's capitalism itself, even for the capitalists, it's a dog eat dog system. And you see, even in all of our lifetimes, we've seen how many big, huge corporations go out of existence, right? And that competition functions at the level of I don't know why fireworks started going behind me, but that competition.
You probably said some hot shit. You said some hot shit.
So that competition functions at the level of different corporations, like, between McDonald's and Burger King or whatever, but it also functions at the level of whole countries. And everyone who's even the people who are running, even the bourgeoisie, is caught up in that competition. This is why Karl Marx, he actually made the point that capitalists are just capital personified. In other words, they're just doing what the system needs them to do. And so the deeper reason that I say that, it's not just last shall be first and first shall be last. Number one, there's a moral component of that, because I don't want to. Yes, we have to defeat them in the trenches, and this is a point that Baba Vakian has made continually. We have to defeat them in the trenches, but we can't become them as we fight them. We can't turn into what we're fighting against. So I'm almost done. There's a moral component, but there's also an even deeper reason, which is that the root of the problem is not the fucking 1%. It's not the capitalists, and you could chop off the head of every capitalist, which is not what we're advocating. And if you don't change the underlying system, you'll end up getting more capitalists, and we've seen this. For example, you've seen this in many of the anti-colonial revolutions in in Africa and in Asia and other places, where you overthrew, you kicked out the Western colonial powers, but you didn't change the economic system. And then you ended up, now you have, like in Angola, they have the first Black female billionaire. South Africa, similar situation, right? Where now you have, not just a white bourgeoisie, now you have a Black bourgeoisie, but they're acting like the white bourgeoisie. So we have to it's not just about taking revenge on those who fucked us over. It's about changing the root of getting to the root of the problem.
That's the second time you use that term, revenge. But it's like none of this has anything to do with revenge. I could care less where these people go. I don't even know these billionaires. I don't care nothing about them. All I care about is not being oppressed by these people. What you do with your life, when you get up every day, when you go out and you physically do with your body, with your spirit, with your humanity, the stuff, you go to work every day. The stuff you do, that's who you are. You could tell me what you think you are, what you wish you were. You could say that all day, but you a teacher and you work in the school system and you know the water poison. You know the water got lead in it. but you don't tell my child that that water got lead in it. They're drinking it. I mean, you in there, you teaching them the curriculum that that empire wants you to teach them every day. You get paid. You go and you live in the suburbs. Yo, I don't give a fuck about you. I don't care like you that you're a teacher. Yo, you're part of the system. Yo, you a cop. The same cop that come in the community and brutalize, hit me upside the head, throw me on the ground, drag me, lock me up, take away my house, take away my kids. Like, I don't care about your humanity. I'm not worried about that. I don't want you oppressing me. That's what I care about. Now, I just told you a teacher, because you know everybody think like teachers are perfect. Teachers are the good guys in society. Can't nobody say nothing negative about teachers. They maintain these institutions. They maintain this education system, and they get paid well. They have unions that exploit the people in the communities which they teach in. This is the reality that we're living in. Because remember, you said everything got to be about science. I believe in dialectic materialism. I believe in dialectics. The things that they do, what happened in society, the institutions in society play a large part in the human beings in that society. And I'm saying right now, it doesn't matter who you are. If you are benefiting off my exploitation, yo, you are my enemy. It don't matter what flowery words you use, how you feel inside about what you're doing, but you get up every day to go get paid to oppress me. You are my enemy. We are not friends. There's nothing to negotiate with. Yo, ain't no teacher that's working in our community. The reading is at a 5% proficiency. The math is at a 6% proficiency. These schools have been failing our children generation after generation, and these people are making six figures. They're making way more money than anybody in this community, and they sit here, they support because they're in their unions, they're in their low organizations. They support the politicians. They support the what the hell they call them, the superintendents. They support all these people, all these institutions that is in the community to exploit me. There's no negotiating with those people. The time to negotiate with that class of people is over. In the 60s, it was over then. In the 30s, it was over then. In the 1800s, you shouldn't be negotiating with none of these people because their purpose is to exist off your suffering. And if we're not there, if we don't understand that as an organization trying to put stuff together to serve the people, then we're still spinning our wheels. We're not really, we really don't know the beast that we're trying to tackle. I mean, and that's where I'm coming from. And that's not me being angry or vengeful about anybody. No. And I'm not going to wait till everybody wake up to say, you know what? Yeah, that's when we're going to have the revolution. I might be dead. I understand we need to have the cadre. We need to start to build a cadre and teach the next generation that's going to know what to do to be able to survive these people. And if it takes us, only the people that we find to be in our organization to build these, to start to show like this is what you do, then that is our life's duty to build that cadre. But to sit here and say like we're gonna wait to like we can, there's no waiting. You have to build and the first duty, the first step is building those institutions for our children to have that institutional memory. Because if we don't build those institutions, the media got their attention. The schools got their attention. Everything else has their attention and it's feeding their minds. How are we going to compete with that without building institutions? And when I come across all these leaders, all these people that say they're leaders, whatever, yo, where's the institutions at? Where are the institutions that you're organizing to build that's going to teach people this stuff? Because in all these revolutions, yo, the stuff I'm talking about, this political education, this working in these communities, it was done in every single revolution. Because you cannot have a revolution without going to go organize the people. The middle class can't do it. They got themselves. They use our bodies. They use us to go to take over the empire, and then now they become the rulers. And you was talking about it earlier, but Fred Hampton said it. I think he said who he said in Haiti. He was talking about whoever in Haiti. After they put him in power, I mean, he went over there. He was worse than the white man. I mean, that's not what we're talking about. We're not here to get vengeance. I can't get enough vengeance. Yo, like if you took like what is vengeance? Cut a white man's head off. What the fuck is that gonna do for me? That's not going to, it's not going to change my life. It's not going to make the water that I drink, the air, everything better. I mean, like, ain't nobody got time for that shit. I mean, I want to make sure we put something in place where future generations don't have to deal with this shit. I mean, and without building institutions, I don't see how we do it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think this discussion is really important, you know, and I think we're getting into really important things here. I did want to say on the topic of dialectical materialism, right? Because dialectics refers to the fact that there's complexity, you know. Materialism just says all of reality is matter. Dialectics talks about the contradiction within matter, you know, the contradiction of things, the different layers and levels of things, right? And I think it's important to be very clear when we're talking about the enemy, the actual enemy, that is not all the people in the middle class. There's people in the middle class who are privileged, who benefit from this system. That's different from people who are actually, their interests are antagonistic to the interests of the masses of people. That's different from the police, right? And I think this is important. It's part of having a dialectical analysis. It's important to be able to identify who the real enemy is and who needs to be struggled with, but could be convinced. I think the teachers can be convinced. I mean, if people are doing things like hiding, you know, lead tainted water from the kids, that's despicable. That's despicable. They should be fired from their job and maybe thrown in prison, right?
But who's going to fire them?
But many teachers and many people in the middle class, especially the kind of people we're talking about who hate Trump, who are out there protesting for immigrants and all this, these are decent people. These are people who you know, who don't want to live in a world where, you know, and you saw them in 2020 come out after the murder of George Floyd. You know, and yes, there's a struggle with them to put it all, to be willing to put it all on the line. But there's also a struggle, an even bigger struggle with them to understand, you know, why do the police keep killing Black people? You know, is it just, you know, some evil cops, or is it because as Bob Avakian put it, the role of the police in this society is to serve and protect the exploitation and oppression that's built into this capitalist system. That's their actual role, to maintain the order of this system, right? And you're never gonna defund the police, and you're never gonna, you know, that they're never gonna be reformed. Body cameras isn't gonna work. None of that's gonna work as long as you have capitalism and white supremacy. You're gonna have the police serving that system, right? And so this is what people actually need to understand, right? And we do need to be, let me just make crystal clear. We are not sitting around waiting for people to wake up. We're out there, yes, in the community, but acting on a national stage. But here in LA, in New York, you know, we have a chapter in New York. We have a chapter in the Bay Area, Chicago, nice. Texas, a few other places. There's some people in, you know, we are actively organizing for revolution right now. The strategy that we actually apply, it's called fight the power and transform the people for revolution. Fight the power refers to the fact that we need to be getting people to stand up against all the injustices and oppression of this system. You know, when the police murdered that young man in Madison, Wisconsin, people need to be standing up against that. This war that Trump is doing, people need to be standing up against that. We need to be fighting the power, but we also need to be transforming the people, right? That refers to transforming the thinking of the people, but also transforming the way that people are relating to each other, you know? And then on that basis, we need to be organizing people as a force for revolution, because it's one thing for us to have, you know, for me to go up to someone on the street and have a one-on-one conversation and try to convince them. But when you have a force for revolution, see, you know, it's interesting. The original Black Panther Party never had more than a few thousand members. But when they would come through the community marching in formation, you know, and especially when groups of them actually stood up to the police the way that they did, you know, and there is an important role for self-defense in this moment. People have a right, you know, to defend themselves against, you know, unjust and illegal use of authority, right?
Yep.
Then, you know, when you have a force of people doing that, that can spark people's imagination. That can make people say, oh, who are those people? What are they about? What do they know that I don't know? You know, and so it's not sitting around waiting for revolution. It's you know, it's hastening it. It's accelerating it. It's fighting the power, transforming the thinking of the people. And you know, we are in a, once again, just to come back to the larger situation we're in, we are in a moment where, you know, the way Baba Vakin put it is humanity is on the brink, right? We're being pushed into the abyss on the one hand by capitalism, you know, with the real danger of nuclear war between imperialist powers, environmental devastation, and then fascism, you know, taking over this country to the point where, you know, just recently in Texas, a bunch of people ended up getting prosecuted and facing decades in prison just for having, you know, anti-fascist literature. That's where things are heading in this society, you know. And so in that you know, so that's on the one hand heading into the abyss or forging a way forward out of the madness. And everything that the RevComs, that the revolutionary communists are doing, is about fighting the power, transforming the people for revolution, organizing them so that we can forge a way out of the madness.
All power to the people.
It sounds like what we're doing at the Unity Project, doesn't it?
Trying
to transform the minds of the masses. That's the challenge.
Not because we have political education classes that are like 13 weeks long. We go through it every week, and we go through the whole process of why we even doing what we're doing. We've been doing that for years now. Like every couple of months, we do the political education class over. No, like everything you said, I'm agreeing with. You do have to come together. You have to build the infrastructure for all of this to happen. None of this is organic. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. You have to have the cadre. They got to be a systematic plan. Like when we saying police our own communities, you were just talking about the police just now. Yo, when they come in our communities, if you organize your community to be able to come out and police themselves too. Yo, when they show up, the people show up too. Yo, that's the hard work of organizing. People think organizing is mobilizing people. No, where we are at, the way how the world is right now, the current material conditions that we're dealing with. And I'm talking to you, if you see this 100 years from now, yo, we have no rights out here. I mean, they have police states everywhere. They're building police. Yo, Jeremy came to Newark. I showed him. It was like 2-3 blocks where they have police. They were building police stations. They have police like training centers all over because they know what's coming. There are no jobs. Everything's gonna keep getting worse and worse. Rent is gonna go up. It's gonna be another depression. They're gonna need to deal with all those people. If those people in those communities are not organized to be able to fight back, those people are going to be thrown away. Their bodies are going to be whatever, what George Jackson said. I mean, like, people are going to die. It's people that already died that are going to die. What are we doing if we're not there building institutions and programs to organize them? Because the basketball camp that we got, it's not for them to throw a ball into a hoop. Like, I could care less about bouncing a ball and throw it into a hoop. In the totality of everything, that shit is fucking useless. I don't even watch sports anymore. I don't even listen to music because all of it is trash. It doesn't speak to my soul. So I don't even pay attention to none of that goofy shit. The reason why we bring the kids, we go around, pick them up every morning to take them all to camp, to feed them, to do all this stuff we do with them, is to teach them the world that's around them. Because that's the only way you're going to get to teach them. You can't preach to them. They're not watching you. They're not listening to you. But when you're around them every day, from kindergarten all the way up to high school, these are the kids that you're working with. You're able to talk to them. You're able to socialize them. And if you're not doing that, you're not in the community trying to foster that kind of a reality. I don't see how anything is being done. Because number one, those in power control all the institutions. They control the events. Like summertime, the mayor, Jeremy sent me something that the mayor is going to be having. What was it? Some poetry shit.
I don't remember. Yeah,
it was some bullshit. They have 24 hours of peace where they bring celebrities. They have award ceremonies. They have these different galas. They go out and give food into the community. They have all this stuff that they're doing that if there's nobody here to combat it, to be like, hey, yo, they're using government taxpayer money to bring you that food. All these celebrities that they bring in here is your tax dollars. Nothing that they're doing here is for the benefit of you or your family. And in fact, what they're doing is they're about to push you out because all these buildings, all these homes is being sold to corporations. So while you're seeing them, even look, all their nonprofit groups that they got out here in the street marching, talking about we fighting for justice, all of them are fake. These people are not here to do nothing for you or anybody in the community. They're just getting money, nonprofit money to come. Let me tell you this right here. Yo, last week we get food to feed the kids at the camp. We get breakfast and lunch. Yo, why they cut the food? Because they were mad. We had the number to the vendor and we called the vendor and told him it was raining. So we're not going to be outside. So somebody in the office got mad that we called the bus driver that brings the food. So they cut the food for the camp. We went into the office to ask them why they cut it. We took all the kids. We get to the office. This old lady, she probably in her 60s. She's like, we're out here doing good work, activism work. I'm like, look, you don't do no work. We're not even gonna have that conversation. You're not doing no activism. You inside this AC room, you're getting paid to be here. And the food that the kids are getting that you don't cook, you don't package, is state money, it's our tax dollars. And you in this office and you cut it off and you got the nerve to tell me you're an activist. You are not an activist. None of these people are activists. They're all frauds and bringing it to Mamdani. They're not socialists. Mamdani is not a socialist. You cannot work in a capitalist government. Work do the bidding of capitalists and then call yourself a socialist. Like, I don't know what kind of crazy world they live in, but that shit don't apply to me. You are a capitalist. You just lie and tell people what they want to hear for them to go out and support the system and keep it going. But other than that, you're nothing but a crook, a scammer, a fraud. Yo, that little smirk you be doing, he laughing at all of us because he's gonna go to the bank. By the time he leave office, he's gonna be a millionaire while we are all still trying to find a place to stay, all like rent free. Like I told you earlier, that's what they're saying he did. That's the big ticket item. Yo, people still can't afford rent. So you just froze it where people couldn't afford it. Like you're just playing in people's faces. I mean, so like to me, I don't know. I'm about to ask you what you think about Mamdani, but to me, he's a scammer like Bernie Sanders. He's a scammer like AOC. They are all scammers. And notice I'm not talking about the Republican Party. We all know the KKK. If you don't know the Republican Party, the KKK, like I don't even know we could talk anymore. But the Democratic Party is the KKK. Like Malcolm said, wolf and sheep, whatever. I mean, like, this is not sheep on Fox, but wolf and the fox. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. So like, Obama is Trump, but just he could shoot. He could shoot a jump shot. That's the only difference. And he could smile and talk and do all that. And he was black, but he just like Trump. If I don't know, did Trump get any president killed yet? Get a knife stuck up their rectum yet? But under Obama, he got presidents killed. Gaddafi had a knife stuck up his rectum.
Trump kidnapped Maduro in Venezuela.
But and where's Maduro at? In New York, right? And who's the mayor? And who's the socialist Mamdani, right? But what did Mamdani say about that? Mamdani said he don't fuck with Maduro either. I mean, all of them are scumbags. They're no good politicians, just like they're no good cops. Man, but go ahead. What you think about Mamdani there?
Well, you laid out a lot. I mean, let me just say, look, to me, it's not a matter of scumbags or frauds. Like, to me, someone like Mamdani, Bernie, these people might genuinely want to help people, right? But the problem is whether they're genuine about it or whether they're scammers. I don't know. I don't think you know either. But the essence of the problem is when you preside over a system of capitalism, you have to do the bidding of capitalism, right?
You know that, right?
What's that? You
know that, right?
Know what?
What you just said. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You think you smarter than Bernie Sanders or Mamdani?
Well, I think a lot of people like Bernie and Mamdani do not have a scientific understanding of capitalism, right? You really believe that? You think Look, this is why I was saying before, you know, a lot of people think of capitalism as just greedy billionaires, you know, and they think in terms of just, oh, we're going to tax the billionaires and redistribute some of their wealth, right? But they never even consider, you know, the idea of not just we're going to tax the billionaires, but we're going to take the ownership system away from them. You know, that's what a real socialist revolution does. It doesn't just tax the rich. It actually takes the ownership away of all the major corporations. You no longer have a Tesla, Coca-Cola, Amazon. You know, none of that exists anymore.
Where does it go?
It goes to the socialist government, and then the wealth is then distributed to people on the basis of social need.
And now those people become the first, right? And then those corporations become the last, right?
Well, it's not. You take the ownership system away from them, you know. So that's the first thing. The second thing is in the world today, capitalism is an international system of exploitation. This is why, you know, the Babavekian and the Revcoms, we always use the term capitalism imperialism, because imperialism refers to the global nature of that system, where, you know, the way things are produced in many, you just look at the labels on your clothes, made in Bangladesh, made in Haiti, you know, made in Vietnam, you know, where US and particularly US and Western, you know, European, but also Japanese, Chinese, Korean, other imperialist powers, you know, they super exploit people in these other countries, right? They exploit them even more than they exploit in the home country, right? In other words, you think about a country like Mexico, the average wages for people in Mexico are 10 times lower than in the United States, just when you cross over that border, you know, and then so they set up factories in these other countries, or mines, or other sort of operations where they can exploit people even more, and then the profits go to the imperialist countries. And so when you think about people like Bernie Sanders and Mamdani talking about, oh, we're going to tax the billionaires and set up more social programs for people in this country, essentially what they're talking about is redistributing some of the spoils of imperialist plunder. And so there's a basic question for people living in this country. Do we want to be an empire that goes around the world, plundering other countries, exploiting them, you know, waging war against them, so that we can have, you know, a rent freeze, you know, or, you know, so that we can have, you know, faster buses? Or do we want a whole new system? You know, that's a big difference between the DSA, Mamdani, and actual revolutionary communists like us. We want to end U.S. imperialism. We don't just want to redistribute some of the wealth that's been plundered from the people of the world. You know, and then I think there's a basic understanding that people need to get, that, you know, as long as you have capitalism, the government of this system is going to serve that, you know, for all the talk that they, you know, for all the talk that they have by, you know, for all the talk that they, you know, say about this is a democracy, you know, a democracy for all. The reality is it's a capitalist democracy. And what that means, it's actually the rule of the capitalist class. And what that also means is that it's a dictatorship over the masses of oppressed humanity. It's a dictatorship over Black people. It's a dictatorship over all the youth in the inner cities that they treat as less than human. It's a dictatorship over, yes, and it'll be a dictatorship over anyone who steps too far out of line. You know, and this is what you see with Renee Good and Alex Preddy. You see that dictatorship will even come down on middle-class white people if they actually challenge the system. So, you know, that dictatorship, you can't reform it. You can't work within it. You can't make adjustments within it. It needs to be overthrown. You know, and then there's a bigger conversation about dictatorship of the proletariat and what that means.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother show. Jeremy, you wanted to say something?
No, I've just been sitting here getting educated, y'all. But this has been great.
All
I feel like
I
I've been listening to this, you guys, because I was telling him before the show, like, this is new to me. Like, I didn't really start looking at this revolutionary stuff until January. You know, before that, I was just, you know, like everybody else, I guess, oblivious to a lot of things. But it does take a lot of deconstruction and deprogramming, because even me and Chairman Africa, like I'll say something, and he'll be like, "No, that's not right, and this is why."
No, I'm about to give him an example.
Yeah,
you're in LA. Did you hear about Delaney Hall yet? Did you hear anything about Delaney Hall?
Matter of fact, I was in New York when the whole thing first started at Delaney Hall, like about a year ago. So,
oh, awesome!
I was there like the day after the mayor Baraka got arrested.
Yeah, word up. They should have kept him locked up, but they should have let him go. He used those people. He used those people for like political reasons, but we're not gonna go into that. No, but what you were saying just now, like when Jeremy came down, I told Jeremy, I was like, because he was just saying like sometimes I got to tell him like what it is, whatever, and I'm like, yo, I'm surprised they don't have the police barricading and shutting this area down for people not to get through. I'm surprised it's still open because people are going there to have protests, and I understand how they usually work. So Jeremy was like, yeah, I'm about to go. I'm going out there tonight.
Oh, not this again.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going out there tonight. And when he went out there, the police brutalized him. They used the riot shield and they broke his glasses. They hit him right on the nose with their shield.
Yeah.
But I told Jeremy not to go out there.
He did.
I understood. They don't care killing them. There's no, like, to me, the protests, the people that are out there, there's no need fighting with these officers. Like, there's nothing you can say to them that's going to change their mind. There's no conversation you could have with the people in power. The only thing we could do is organize to come up with ways in which to keep people safe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you could come out here, they could brutalize everybody. They could have killed you, bro.
I know.
And you're gone. So, like, what revolution are we doing then? You're gone already. I mean, you're not here to do nothing. I mean, so, like, while we're here, our duty is to try to, like, be that cadre, to build those institutions, to organize the community, to have them prepared. I don't want people doing what they call doing reactionary things, going to go confront these people. I mean, like, I get into it with the police. I do pig patrol, and I get into it with the police. But if they came to arrest me, let's go. Like, I'm not coming here to go fight you. I don't have enough guns. I mean, but I'm going to highlight the contradiction in the society. Like, they're not supposed to be doing this. Mm-hmm. They're not supposed to come in here and arrest you and say because you tensed up, it's resisting arrest when they grab you. Motherfucker, I don't know you. You're grabbing me. I'm not supposed to tense up. If I kick down your door right now and I grabbed you, you won't tense up? Raphael, you won't tense up if the police kick your door and they grabbed you and then they lock you up, they say for resisting arrest. You're like, I'm in my damn house doing a goddamn Zoom, whatever thing, and you just come in here and grab me. But this is what they're doing in our communities. So these people cannot be negotiated with. You see, most people that don't live in these neighborhoods that often speak for us, that are on this plantations, that are on these platforms. I'm talking about like black intellectuals, they're black talking heads. They're not in our communities. They don't see how the landlord come and raise the rent. Like, just raise the rent next month and put a note on your door that you need to leave, that they're going to be kicking you out. And like, there's nothing you can do. You can't go to City Hall. You don't have no lawyers. You have nothing. This is how they're treating people here. And like, nobody's doing anything about it. But all you hear is people like, Mamdani. And another secret, the people in the communities don't vote. People in North New Jersey don't vote. The people in New York don't vote. The masses of the people have rejected the electoral process. They do not participate. We just had an election for the mayor. 4% of the people in the city voted. 350,000 people. The people in the city know, but nobody speaks to the people. Nobody speaks to the people on the ground. You get the professors, who are sellouts and traitors. Look, I don't know how you can call these people scammers when they know. They will say it out their own mouth. You cannot reform the Democratic Party. Mamdani will say that. You got to abolish the police. Mamdani will say that. But as soon as they win, they start talking about how they got to keep, what's her name, Tish, whatever her name is, a Zionist police chief.
Tish James, yeah.
You got to keep her in position of power. They talk all this rhetoric. They know what they're doing. These people that win office, these are the best actors and best liars we can produce. every single one of them. They know they're lying. None of them go up there. A friend of me and my friend have a conversation all the time. I tell them celebrities, all of them know they're sellouts. And he always tell me like they really don't know. Yo, for them to sign that contract, for them to be able not to speak up on the things that they see, for them to know all of that, not to say nothing, they know what's going on. They just don't care. And I'm not sitting here, and I'm not sitting here hoping like, yo, you know what? Some of them don't feel that way. Some of them don't this way. Yo, the people that vote, the 4% of the people that vote, those are all the teachers. Those are all the police officers. Those are all the people that work in government. Those are the people that want to maintain these systems. They're the one that vote. The masses of the people suffering here, they don't participate in none of this shit. All the elections, I don't care, even in where you at, the people suffering are not the one voting. It's all the people that are working in these institutions. They're the one maintaining this system. And and like the people, the mass, like you hear somebody say, it was 60% of Latino people voted for Trump. 60% of Latino people didn't vote. 60% of Hispanics didn't vote. Yo, you have people that are registered to vote. Less than half of those people be voting. The whole community is not registered to vote. If you break it down and you go down to the root of who's really voting, like the shit makes no sense. Like they talk about black people, this black men are this. Yo, like 1 out of 3 black people like is locked up. Like 2 out of 3 or whatever have felonies. Yo, black men don't contribute to nothing. We don't control the society. We don't control no institution. But when you hear anything negative in the community, they talk about black this, black that. Even though they control nothing, I don't entertain those conversations. Those conversations are ignorant to me. I mean, what I entertain is who is our enemy. Our enemy, we're in a class war. That's what Fred Hampton say. We're in a class struggle, goddammit. The people outside of my class that are benefiting from my suffering, those are my enemies. Those are the species I'm gonna separate from. If they don't support, I tell this to the police, I tell this to the teachers. You could go on the plantation and be a slave catcher. We are all on the plantation. You can't pick your job. You could go work in Massa House. You could be a teacher. You could do whatever you do. But if you're not helping to build an underground railroad after that 40 or 50 hours you give to master, then you are my enemy. You are a traitor. You cannot go and work at these institutions that exploiting us. Go home into your house with your fireplace, with your pool, celebrate with your children that got insurance, that's not drinking lead water, and then come to me tomorrow and tell me we black. We in the struggle together. No, the fuck we not. No, the fuck we not. We're not in the struggle together. We not cool just because you're not Bill Gates. That means you're not wealthy enough like Bill Gates. So we cool. You are working class. You a traitor. I don't trust the unions. I don't trust none of them motherfuckers. Because them union the schools will be sitting right here. The union guy told me. He said he looked me right in the eye and he said, "Yo, Africa, yo, I am here to protect the people in my union. I'm not here to worry about the residents or the people in the city." That's what he told me. And that shit woke me up like out my stupor. Like, no shit. He's here to get the money for the teachers, to get the contracts. He's not here for us. I can't call that person an ally. What are we an ally to? And if we don't start to draw those lines, start to talk to people on those terms, then we are manipulating people. And that's where I stand with it. I mean, it's like I'm not mad at anybody. Anybody can say they are what they want to say. But if you want to say you're a revolutionary, you're trying to transform the society, first it starts with education and letting people know what they're dealing with. And what you're dealing with is a republic, an oligarchy. There's never been no democracy in America. Never, ever, ever. When was there democracy? In the 2000s, in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 60s, in the 70s? When was it democracy? In the 20s, in the 1800s? There's never been no democracy here. What they have is an oligarchy where the rich exploit and suck the blood of all of us. And if we don't deal with them, they're going to suck our blood till we're dead, our children are dead, till the world is over. I mean, and that's where we at with it. And it's hard to find people that want to like put down their lot on that right there, on that understanding that we are at war with these people. And I'm not talking about going to go get guns. I said it earlier. We don't have enough guns. We don't have shit. We don't even have the minds yet. We have to organize and build institutions to produce these minds. And if we're not doing that, I would tell this to Bob too. If we're not doing that, man, we just rallying. We just out here just doing whatever. We need to build everything that Bob knows in his mind. That shit should be down already. The kids should be learning that shit in kindergarten. They should be learning that shit in first grade, in second grade. It should be part of their life. But how are they going to learn that if we don't build the institutions? I mean, real talk. And that, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh no, I actually gotta run, man.
yo, let me tell you, Raphael, this is the longest show we have ever done, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. And let me just say very briefly at the end, that I think this has been an important discussion and, debate, ideological struggle. I think it does come down to the what I said at the beginning about wherever there's oppression, there will be resistance. But without revolutionary theory and leadership, it's going to get sucked back into the system that's the source of the oppression. This is the role that Mamdani is playing now, sucking people back into that system, right? And and so on that note, I would just really encourage people to go to revcom.us to read the work of Baba Vakian. You can watch his interviews at youtube.com/therevcoms. Follow him at Baba Vakian Official. Follow us at the Revcoms on all social media platforms. We do have to get organized for revolution. This is not some sitting around waiting for people to wake up. We do have to go wake the people up, bring them a revolutionary understanding, organize them, getting ready for revolution in a moment where revolution could actually be possible.
All power to the people.
I think
I want to talk to Bob too, because I want to ask Bob how we going to do that.
Yeah,
that's the thing, because we need to, we do need a revolution, and the revolution is basically a change of how things work. Like I'm talking about when we say institutions, that's change. Like where our children go to school, what information they get. I'm gonna keep talking all day, Jeremy. You better wrap this show up.
And this is the debate we've been having all afternoon or all evening, is because you're saying we need institutions now. I'm saying we're never gonna be able to establish that under the current system. We need state power. We need a revolution. But let's keep having this debate, man. It's good getting.
We don't need state power to get a school. We don't need a state power to start a home school, to get our own school. We don't need state power. We don't need state power to build on cooperatives.
To do it on a mass scale, we do though. That's what I'm saying.
If you get to a mass scale, then you are the state, because that's where the people are at. Wherever the people are at, that's where the state is at. So if we on a mass scale, we done took over already. But to get to that mass scale, it starts with building those institutions to bring those people in. Raphael, please come back. Man, come back next week. Let's talk. Yeah. Maybe we could talk about Mamdani next week.
All right.
No, we never even got into it really.
Get more into that next time. So good, really good talking to you guys.
All power to the people. Talk to you later, yo.
All right, take care.